Hi and hello. Let's talk books. More specifically, living books. By this point, I've covered a couple titles from this series, and we'll go deeper into the history in a future episode, but for now I figured let's check back up on a familiar friend.
Hello, my name is Arthur.
Hi Arthur! Wow, you're looking different. This was only the second game ever created in the Living Book series, right behind Just Grandma and Me in 1992, but based on the book that was published in 1986. If you couldn't tell, this was made a few years before the classic animated series came into existence, and it's so interesting to see how all the classic characters look so different from their PBS Kids counterparts. Because this is such an early edition within the series, it's a standard read-along storybook. The additions of minigames weren't featured yet, but you can still click on various different objects and words.
1, 2, 3, 4, boom, shaboom, boom, shaboom, boo-doo-ba, shaboom, boom, shaboom, boo-doo-ba, boom.
Unfortunately, nothing like the annoyed New York lamp is a part of this either, but we gotta remember that this is an early piece of media and they needed time to experiment and figure things out. I would say the same thing about my videos, but of course I'm still experimenting and figuring things out. The one thing that's standard though from the very beginning is our protagonists doing a dance after introducing themselves. It's still so weird seeing him drawn that way. Just like the previous living books, there's two ways to read the story. Being read to me or let me play, but oh wait, what's that I see? Not only can you have the story be read in English, but Spanish too? I'm not sure when they changed this feature, but it's so interesting that it's here. It elevates the game from being a learning game for young kids to anyone. I definitely don't know Spanish. If I wanted to, I could have the story be read to me and learn some new words.
Nos vemos mañana.
Les dijo su profesor, el señor Ratburn.
The other area on the main menu is options, but I wanted to highlight it because not only is that where you can choose the page you want to access, but there was also a preview for another living storybook. I've never played this, I've never heard of this, and this is straight up some weird 80s postmodernism art that was still hanging on within the early 90s.
Whoa, I didn't know my
He's so
own
mad
strength.
at you.
Where's Ruff gonna find his bone?
In the jungle.
Undersea.
On another planet.
Wow!
You want to find out whether Ruff ever gets his bone?
Then get living books. Ruff's Bone.
See you there.
And that's the only preview.
Ruff's bone.
Alright, so we've covered the main menu. We've covered Arthur's dancing. Let's see. Anything else? Nope, let's get on to the story then. The plot begins at the end of the first day of school after Arthur and his classmates were introduced to Mr. Ratburn, the teacher they will end up having for decades within the series. The students congregate around, stressed about how they have homework already on the first day, while at the same time the principal interrupts to announce the Spellathon spelling bee happening soon. Back at home, Arthur is stressed by all his homework, that he can't enjoy his mom's cookies, ignores his friends to study, and becomes a workaholic at age 8. There's a spelling test at the end of the week, and the top 2 kids will be able to compete in the Spellathon. Arthur and the Brain end up being those kids, which means Arthur became more hyperfixated until the event. And as you get deeper into the story, there are several pages of this book that are just words. Let's see. Any of these important to know? Well, Gwen Stefani taught us how to spell this one. The several pages are filled with basic words that are useful for 8-year-olds to know, and of course, just like the rest of the pages, have several different mini animations to click on that go along with the word presented. Of course, this is when switching back to Spanish is very helpful. It was nice to know that I knew several of the words without knowing I knew the Spanish variations. I'd like to give my thanks to many Broadway productions and Zumba, mostly.
Bicicleta. B, I, C, I, C, L, E, T, A. Bicicleta.
Finally, it was time for the spelling bee to start, and just a small side note, I love that Picasso is featured here. It has nothing else to do with the story, but it's one of my favorite artists, so it was exciting to see. The kids begin their spelling tournament, and one by one are eliminated. Where's that magic foot when you need it? Of course, Arthur ends up the winner, no surprise there, and everyone, including Mr. Ratburn, congratulates him. And that's the end.
So long. I'll see you next time.
Like I said in the beginning, this is a standard storybook, but this is very important because this was the second version of the series, so they were still playing around, they were still figuring out all the features, and it does a wonderful job pulling the storybook from the pages and making it interactive and animated. I was able to take a look at the original storybook online, and they really did take the pages basically note by note and drawing by drawing and animate it and made it fantastic. It's also really weird to me still because I grew up on Arthur, the TV series, and it's so weird hearing the different voices and seeing these characters look so different compared to their television counterparts. But it's something you get used to. I'm really happy that the television series has them animated the way they are, but I do appreciate that at least for the book series, they do look a lot more like their animal inspirations, if you say that. Muffy looks like a monkey, Francine looks like a monkey, Arthur looks more like an aardvark, although he'd never really looked like an aardvark in the first place, but Buster looks more like a rabbit, although, again, in the series he looks just like a rabbit too. There's not that much difference with them. I could go on. What's more interesting to me, of course, is seeing all the changes. Because I started out looking back at the series with one of the later editions, I saw where it ended up, and now going back all the way almost to the very beginning, you get to see what they first started with and what they fleshed out throughout the way. And that's the fun thing about doing this, not in order. Like I said, I really want to continue and talk further into living books. I think it is a very interesting and very fundamental software for the time that it was around, and definitely needs a lot more of a spotlight on it. But I loved being able to focus on Arthur because Arthur was honestly the most known title and the most repeated title, where they've had different books like Dr. Seuss and the Berenstain Bears, but Arthur has had over 5 titles in the series. Definitely was the most popular within the series to use. Other than that, let me know if you remember this story or even the television episode. I know Arthur is a very, very popular series, book series, television series. It had a ton of computer games because it came out within the 90s and that was all the rage, and this is what I'm all here for. There's still a lot more for me to rediscover, not only within the Arthur series, but the Living Book series. But for now, I think it's time for me to sign off, and I'll see you in the next one.